Kevin, it feels like from the outside that the Padres, to some extent, have put their foot down to prove that this isn't 2023 anymore. And the latest example for me is Joe Musgrove essentially saying, hey, we really could use a closer that was willing to do what Robert Suarez did yesterday, which was go more than 3 outs. Do you sense that, like that they have to prove they're not going through what they went through a year ago in the manner in which they're going about 2024 so far?
I would agree that there are a lot of things that they're saying and doing that are counter to 2023, and that is purposeful. Yes. As for Joe, I was getting other people and was not in the Joe scrum yesterday. Did not follow up with Joe, which I would have had I seen the quote before I went back upstairs, to specifically say, Joe, you are aware, right, how that is going to be seen. Did you mean it that way? What I can tell you after covering Joe now for 4 years is that I think it's safe to say Joe thinks about these things. Joe is smart. Joe, often speaks with a purpose and speaks from the heart. And I don't think it's a stretch where sometimes maybe conclusions are made and the wrong conclusion is made as the mob jumps on things. I don't know. I'm not saying that Joe did not have something in mind or someone in mind when he said that.
And for this team this year, to have Robert Suarez be a guy that can give them multiple innings for a guy that's never done that before, is there risk there, or is it, is it something that they're going to do a lot of? You think, because the bullpen is also a little bit shaky right now.
Right. There's a unique situation. First off, he was able to do it in his first appearance of the year because there was a week off afterwards. He had not pitched. He had 5 days rest. He had not pitched in 6 days when he came in the game yesterday. And there's a day off today. Gosh, you don't know after throwing, 33 pitches? Would he even be available tomorrow? Now it's early in the season. He may be. But, there is something to that it is not what you would expect all year. I mean, guys like Robert Suarez, as in, 99 miles an hour, max effort guys, are not generally doing this more than a handful of times in a season. And if they are, they're young and you could infer that they're being abused by their team, which is something I would always want to a certain extent, stick up for Josh Hader for. He was, in a sense, abused, did have it used against him. Now, you want to get into the muddy waters of what did he owe the Padres last year? That's a whole other topic. But I do want to say that, there is some self-interest that is justified.
Our Padres insider, Kevin Acee, with us right now on Jon and Jim. I don't know if there's any player we've talked about more that is not a San Diego Padre than Tommy Pham over the last half year. Has the talk cooled now that we've gotten into the season, or is this still a possibility for a reunion with Pham and the Padres?
Sure, I think it's still a possibility. I think that there's a lot of possibilities. I think as we've been talking about for weeks, I think that they are looking at their team. They think they have a good team. They believe they need another bat. So, any number of things could happen, and Tommy could be one of them, unless, Tommy signs elsewhere, including, another country, because, he wants to play baseball. It's getting a little late for Tommy to go and prove himself somewhere else and hope to come back and make the big bucks. It's hard for me to believe that he's done. I don't think the Padres think he's done. But yeah, that and numerous other things are a possibility. I think they like their team. That is a far cry from being satisfied with their team and thinking that this is the lineup that will take them through the whole season to their goal.
Is there an update on Manny getting back in the field? Has he even been out, doing any drills in the field that you've seen of late?
Almost every day. He's back to playing catch, I think a week now. And it's out to 90 feet. Generally, these things progress to 120 before then a guy is going to be throwing. And so what Manny has been doing before virtually every game, at least night games, and even I think yesterday, he'll go out and play catch with Scott Hacker, the physical therapist, and then he will go over and take grounders at third. When he's at third, he will not throw the ball across the diamond. He'll just take the grounders. So
there's no, you don't know any timetable for his return to the field?
At least a couple weeks. Manny can be very insightful. Manny can be, very forthcoming. about his own health is not one of the topics that he generally is.
Yeah,
no question about it. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. He's with us right now on Jon and Jim. Kevin, I know you just published an article on Luis Campusano, where he is right now in his career. Obviously, he's had some paying big dividends right now offensively for the Padres in the early going. How does the organization feel about his development and where he is right now?
Love it. And he's always had a lot of fans inside of the organization, and he's had some detractors. And now it's like all fans. And I mean, I think it's the best story going, or arguably the best story going with the Padres right now. That doesn't, we'll see. Like, right, he's still got to stay healthy. He's, got to stay on the field and continue at this level. But you go back 20 or more starts, 105 plate appearances, I believe. He's got almost a 400 average. He's got like 1,000 OPS. He is, he is playing very well. He has worked really hard and made himself into an everyday catcher. And I honestly think it is one of the very, very good stories that has been happening here over the last year.
Is there a scenario when Manny does return to the field, whenever that is, that days that Campusano's not behind the plate, you could see him as their DH? Because when the bat's out of the lineup as of right now, that lineup looks a lot different, Kevin.
It sure does. That's why I think they're going to get another bat. But yes, that is a possibility. Especially they have, and I haven't talked to Mike. It brings up the question. Bob had no problem doing it, right? Bob Melvin had no problem, and some managers do having your catcher be the DH because of the potential that you could lose them late in the game. But Mike is pretty innovative. I don't know where he stands on that, but they also have a guy, Brett Sullivan, who could come up. And Brett Sullivan can play in the field. Brett Sullivan is fast for a catcher. Maybe they bring up a third catcher at that point and make some shifts there if that's something they decide to do, where Campusano continues to hit like he has been, and they decide that's what they want to do, then, that would be a move they could make. But I think that could happen, what you're talking about. I think also the reason you're asking about it is why there's going to be another bat at some point.
Right. It's interesting, Kevin, and maybe you wrote on it this offseason as well. It's hard to remember, but obviously the Marlins have a first-year GM. There have been reports about their desires potentially as we move towards the trade deadline, which is nowhere near us because the season just started, but maybe they would have interest in moving, their National League hit king, Luis Ariz.
Yeah.
Even a Jesus Luzardo, apparently the Padres had checked in on, but of course they acquired Dylan Cease. Do you make much of the fact that the Padres, it's AJ Preller, you can't make that much of it. He's had conversations with the Marlins about some of their stars.
No, and that is not a name that I had heard. Does not surprise you. How could it? As I read it by the Rosenthal story with Dennis, that it was all past tense.
Right.
And again, he talks to everyone, and but I'm not saying there was nothing there, but it's like it can become exhausting here. But like I've been saying for a long time, I really think that they're going to add a bat that he's never satisfied, but and I don't know that anyone is, right? That they need a bat. They need another bat in there. Does not surprise. That would be incredible. But I don't know of anything on the horizon right there.
Kevin, this isn't like the sexiest question after talking about trades and signing players, but the Padres' fifth starter spot was right now with Matt Waldron, and his first start didn't go particularly well. It's one start, but is this going to be like a flowing type of thing here that if guys like Matt Waldron don't perform, they could potentially put in a Johnny Brito or someone else in that spot, or how do you view that situation right now?
Yeah, and I don't know how quick that trigger is, but I think that's a pretty safe assumption. And it's odd here now, right? Because of the last couple of years where it's really outside of injury, it's been a pretty set 10 to 12 guys, right? 5 or 6 guys each year, right? That are like, hey, these are going to be the guys who make their starts. But really, that's kind of how it is at the back end of the rotation. I thought there were really good things about Matt Waldron. The first inning was absolutely incredible. Now, one inning doesn't make a start, but this guy has has the potential to be a pretty decent number 5 starter. But the answer to your question is absolutely that number 5 spot is something that could be in flux. And it is why you got Burrito. It's why Randy Vasquez is down and being stretched, being kept at whatever it is, 3, 4, 5 innings, so that he can come up and give you something out of the bullpen or starting. So absolutely, that could change.
Always good insight. First of 9 of the next 12 are on the road for the Padres. That includes San Francisco, LA, Milwaukee. So interesting start here. And again, the schedule in general, I mean, again, it's a long year, but you look at the schedule. I mean, there's some challenging series ahead here early on for the Padres. We'll see how they do beginning in San Francisco tomorrow afternoon. Kevin, we appreciate it. We'll catch up again next week.
Right on. Talk to you later.